Mic check 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and I'm sitting here diving into a little bit of my Sony handheld goodness. Now, I was sitting here thinking about and watching some YouTube videos on some of the things that Sony has on the horizon. And, I've had mixed feelings about Sony over the years. I really, really love some of what Sony has done, especially some of the things that they did in the past. But as of late, I've been a little bit bored with some of what Sony has done. Now, and when I say bored, I'm really more so referring to the PS5 and in some ways the PS4. Now, I've always been a fan of Sony's handhelds. As you can see, I'm holding a PSP, and I'm playing one of the exclusive games for the PlayStation Portable. I think this is one of the best exclusive PSP games. If you're a fan of beat 'em up style games, you will appreciate this game. This is Kenka Bancho, and this is basically a 3D beat 'em up game where you play as a young man who's on basically a field trip, and as you go on the field trip, you're taking these tours, and while you're on these tours, you gotta beat up some bad guys. It's got a really cool fighting mechanic where you learn different move sets and different moves to be able to battle your way through the game. And what I love so much about this game is that you didn't get a lot of games like this for the PSP, because in my opinion, this was a very RPG heavy handheld from Sony. There are way more RPGs for this thing than there are action games. And if you follow the channel, you know action games are pretty much what I'm about. So I remember when I first saw this game years ago, Kenka Bancho, I knew I needed to get a copy of the game just because of how cool it looked. I mean, it's so funny because when you look at the PSP graphics, like, it truly is like a perfect mix between PS1 and PS2 graphics. They're not quite as sharp as PS2 graphics, and they still have a little bit of that boxy feel to them, but they're not as bad as PlayStation 1 graphics. So the PSP was truly a hybrid in terms of graphics. I think it would definitely go PlayStation, then PSP, then PS2 when you're thinking about graphics here. But this is a portion where he's just kind of talking to his dad. I think they're gonna spar a little bit, and I'm definitely gonna dive into this a little bit. I actually needed to take a break because I was playing a bunch of Metroid Fusion lately. I've been playing a ton of Metroid Fusion. I think I'm halfway through the game. I just need to finish off Metroid Fusion, and I have to get back to Chrono Trigger. I started playing Chrono Trigger in April. I think got all the way to like the Land of Ruins and then just kind of fell off. And that's just, that always happens to me with RPGs. No matter how interesting the RPG is, I just always wind up falling off of it, which is why I'm such a, such an action game guy. But just kind of getting back to the purpose of the video, and actually before I get back to that, I figure I'd just show you what the game looks like. So this is Kenka Bancho. If you have a PSP, or if you're a fan of the PSP and you're trying to think about what games you can add to your collection, I definitely recommend you put this on your list. This is an Atlas game, ton of fun, a really cool beat 'em up action fighting game, adventure game. I think you'll like this one. But just back to my thoughts on Sony. So yeah, like, Sony's got some things in the works, right? We know they're cooking something up for, when it comes to the handhelds. And I just feel like, and this is just me coming from a person who just, I'm not gonna call myself a casual, I won't call myself a casual collector, because every time I call myself a casual collector, I get roasted. But I'm definitely a casual game player, right? Like, I casually play my games. I'm not the type of person to sit and put 30 hours into a game in 1 week. I play my games little by little. If I get to them all, I get to them all. If I don't, I don't. But I'm definitely more of a hardcore collector than I am gamer. It doesn't mean I don't like to play the games, but I probably just can't sink as much time into them as I want to. But when I think about the games and the consoles that I do play, they're typically the games and the consoles with some of the most compelling software. And I kind of measure that by the amount of games that I personally have for the console or would purchase for the console. And when I think about that, one of the first PlayStation consoles that comes to my mind is the PlayStation 2, because that's the console that I find it easiest to find a good amount of games that I'll actually play. Behind that for me would probably be the PlayStation 1. And then after that, surprisingly enough, is the PlayStation Vita, then the PlayStation, actually, sorry, then it would be the PlayStation 4, then the Vita, then the PSP, and then the PS3. So, you know, it's a weird order for me, and I'm just going based on the library of games that I find fun out of the PlayStation, when it comes to like the PlayStation consoles that I own. But when I think about like the PlayStation 5 and some of what they've got coming up, I really don't care about the tech specs. Like, I don't care about, this is what you're looking at here is the PS Vita, right? The original Vita. And the reason why I have a PS Vita is because I primarily use, let me just go ahead and open this up here. The main reason I use my PS Vita is for emulation. You know, there's a lot of PlayStation 1 games that I just don't feel like paying the money for. And so because of that, I figure, you know what, it's probably easier. Sorry, I'm trying to do this all with one hand here. But for me, I find it easier to just emulate games on the PSP as opposed to going out and trying to buy copies of Adventures of Trombone and Sylphid, which I don't think you can even actually buy. I think that's an import game. I would need like a import PlayStation to play that. But my point is that when it comes to like the Misadventures of Trombone, this is a great way to play it. Why? Because for me, it doesn't require any like emulation devices. I don't have to go and download software or anything like that. I can literally just go on the PlayStation Store or the PlayStation Network and buy this game for like $7 or however much it was and enjoy it here. And I'm pretty sure there's a way that I can like mirror this to an actual TV screen or something like that if I wanted to play it on a bigger screen. I'm not sure. You guys can let me know down in the comments. But the Vita was a really great machine. Not only were you able to download old school PS1 games and even PS2 games and play them here, but the Vita itself had a pretty amazing library. And I'm not going to get into the PS Vita library right now, but the Vita does have a pretty amazing library. So when I think about the Vita, it had a lot of uses for me. On top of its gaming, it is also a great media device as well. So when I start to think about like the PS Vita 2, if this is something that's actually going to arrive at some point in the next few years, I think about what will make me want to purchase it. And I think for me, what's going to make me feel compelled to pick up a Vita 2 is definitely going to be the software. If the game or if the console is going to have some amazing games, then I'm all for it. I miss the days when consoles had like more exclusive games, games that were just, you could only play it on that one console. And I think if companies got back to that, where it was like, you can only play this game on the Vita 2, or you can only play this game on this, or you can only play this game on that, I think it would definitely make people possibly want to get back into these games and purchase some of these consoles. But when you can play everything and experience everything on a number of different consoles, from PS4, PS5, Xbox, it kind of just, why would you need to have all these systems? So I don't know. This is just me as a casual game player, as someone who likes to play video games for sure. But when I think about buying a console, why am I buying it? So there's a lot of great games on the Vita, a lot of great exclusives. It has a lot of great uses. I've kept my PSP throughout the years because there are also a ton of great exclusive games on the PSP, like I said, including Ken Cabancho. So those pieces of software definitely make keeping these systems worth it for me. Outside of the software, I don't really know what else would draw me to these systems. But you guys let me know. What do you think down in the comments? What do you think the draw would be for a new PlayStation handheld? What do you think people are looking for? Do you think people want more tech specs? Do you think people want more wireless capabilities, more, RAM, or I don't know. I'm not a tech guy, but what do you think people will be looking for in Sony's next handheld, should they create one? I'm interested to know your thoughts. It's the Y2K Collector. Hopefully you're having a great week. I'll catch you in the next video. Take it easy.